This video is brought to you by Nokian Tires, a leader in safety and sustainability. Maximize performance and efficiency with their made in USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantires.com/EV.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to Kettleman City, California. This is the town that's pretty much halfway between LA and San Francisco, and it's also the town that has a bunch of electric vehicle high-power charging stations for folks traveling between the two. In this video, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of all of the DC fast charging stations in this town, because it's just amazing that this little right off the highway town with not many amenities, to be honest, has so many chargers. So let's go on a tour of all the high-powered DC fast charging equipment in Kettleman City. Guys, I want to say a huge thank you to Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund for sponsoring today's video. This is one of the nation's leading nonprofit charities fighting for sustainability, and they are giving away a Lucid Air Grand Touring, or a Rivian R1S, or a Rivian R1T, or a Tesla Plaid. Totally up to your choosing if you happen to win. Now, we've done this with them last year. One of our viewers won a Rivian R1T, and what he did, and what all you have to do, is go to evraffle.org, purchase a ticket. Actually, there's not many tickets available, which increases the odds of you winning. I mean, it's truly incredible. You're supporting great causes, and you have the chance to win one of those incredible vehicles. evraffle.org. A huge thanks to Chesapeake Climate Action Network Action Fund for sponsoring today's video. Starting out here, I stayed overnight, and this is my friend owns this roadster. His name is Raphael. He's driven it around the world, and we've made a video together documenting his story, and hopefully we'll meet up with him on his next around the world adventure in 2024, so not too long from now. Anyway, what we're doing is we're actually walking over to the Kettleman City Tesla Supercharger right here, where they have a huge number of Tesla charging spaces. I'm going to take you on a tour of this particular installation. There's another Kettleman City Supercharger, and then there's a few public DC fast chargers as well. So a bunch to see here in this beautiful, well, today it's beautiful weather, but normally it's baking hot out here in the desert. But early in the morning, all is good. So let's head on out, head on through, and show you around this town. Should be pretty fun. Well, you join me in Kettleman City right now, where I've actually been charging up on this level 2 overnight charge. My hotel, again, was right there, and Raphael was using the charger at the hotel. So I figured I'd put it here and charge it up. Now it is 8:50 a.m. and technically I was blocking this supercharger, but I was also charging on that wall connector, and this spot was handicapped. So I thought this was the lesser of all the evils. If everyone had pulled up, someone could have still blocked me. But yeah, I put it on Twitter, like, what would everyone do? And they would have taken this spot too. So I think this is the correct way of doing it. But a very weird installation where only seemingly handicapped folks have access to the level 2 stations. I believe in this case, technically, charging would take priority over handicap, but there's no need to block one of those precious spaces. We won't do anything there. So let me just show you roughly where we are on a map so you can see what's going on. We are, again, in Kettleman City, and we are pretty much halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. And this will blow your mind, but just for Tesla chargers, look how many there are up and down everywhere here in California. Now, interestingly, there's actually 1, 2, 3 offline that I'm noticing right here. This one, I believe, is a new charger that actually is online without any amenities. This one is at the Buttonwillow track, which is just always offline, but it works. They just, I guess, don't want people going to the racetrack on highways. This is really for track days and stuff. And then this one over here in Coalinga, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but there's another one right next to it, which is Harris Ranch, which is a very famous spot because that's where Tesla attempted to do the battery swap years and years ago. So maybe we should stop in there. I'm curious to see what that's all about. I've never actually been to Harris Ranch, but I'd like to check it out. Anyway, Kettleman City, this was what I would say was the first supercharger hub in the world. So let's get out. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour of it, show you the install. It's been in a few out-of-spec videos up to this point. There is a lounge inside the supercharger display. It gives you access to the lounge, a little thing. And you can see here we have some pull-throughs. These are great if you have a bike rack on your car or something like that. And in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, almost all of the stations at this spot are pull-throughs, which are really, really nice, or pull-ins, I should say. Now, most of these are 150 kilowatt chargers. These are the older version 2 superchargers. It's where they have a single 150 kilowatt cabinet that are shared across 2 posts. And so on a road trip, if you fill this up, for example, you can see here 3A and 3B. If you're charging on 3A and plug into 3B, you'll only get 70 kilowatts or so. And so appreciate it. Nice to see you. And right, so you'll only get 72 kilowatts. Now that's not great for a road trip. And you'll notice a whole bunch more Teslas charging along that back wall over there. And on the back wall are 250 kilowatt version 3 superchargers. Now, if you're curious about all the differences of the chargers, we have plenty of videos covering those topics, but just wanted to give you an idea where this site was originally commissioned with version 2 charging and then was later expanded with version 3 superchargers. In total, I believe there's 40 plugins just at this particular site. We can just do a quick little check as well. I'd like to show you the inside of the lounge because it's just so awesome. So yeah, let me just take you over here. There's an air pump, a windshield washing station, trash cans and facilities, and you can see the 250 kilowatt posts just go down over this way. So really beautiful installation, absolutely gorgeous, and a great spot to stop on a trip between LA and San Francisco. Let me go show you other charging stations in the area because there are a bunch in this little town. Well, we are heading out of Kettleman City now. Great, honestly, spot to charge up overnight. The station's only about maybe 30% capacity right now, although this site, surprisingly, when it first went in, I was like, there's no way there will be enough electric cars to fill up Kettleman City. And then they expanded Kettleman City and they still have lines. It's just amazing. So now, of course, Tesla being Tesla and building the best charging network in the business, has put in another freaking huge Tesla supercharger, 54 stalls now, which equals a total of about 100 Tesla only superchargers here in just Kettleman City, and then a bunch up and down the rest of the road. For example, this one has 56, this one has 18, and then a bunch of these are pretty small here near Bakersfield. This one has 76, but then there's also another one right next door with 24. How crazy is that? So 100 Tesla superchargers just north of LA. I mean, the charging infrastructure is crazy. So let me show you the rest of Kettleman City. We're gonna swing by Starbucks really quick, do the normal morning out of spec routine. Everyone's gotta get the Starbucks in the morning. They actually do have a coffee lounge here at Kettleman City, but it's not open yet. I believe they actually open in 1 minute at 9 a.m. And I just realized how close we are to the 9 a.m. mark. I would have probably waited around for a coffee here. It's actually amazing coffee, believe it or not. They really do a great job. And they always put like a Tesla tea, I don't know, little thing in there. It's pretty cool to have this lounge experience. There's a few superchargers with lounges now, and actually more popping up, especially in Europe. I just did a video maybe a year ago on this BK World situation, and that was a really neat situation. They have a bunch in Europe going in with like these unmanned pods. It's pretty cool. Let's head over to Starbucks, and I have not been to any other charging station in this town other than this one here, so we're going to explore all of these together for the first time. Well, we are just pulling out of Starbucks now, grabbed the good old strawberry acai, and we're heading to the Kettleman City Bernard Drive. This will be exciting. I haven't seen this one. 54 stalls. Looks like there's just one car there. And interestingly, I noticed that the pricing was slightly different between Bernard Drive, this one, and the other one. So they charge 1 cent per kilowatt hour more to be at the Kettleman City with the lounge versus the Kettleman City with seemingly no amenities other than up the road. You could always walk up to Starbucks. In-N-Out Burger is here as well. That's a pretty damn good amenity, I gotta say. That's awesome. Look at this installation. Holy smokes. Am I looking at a Tesla Mega Pack right there? Oh, we got to take a look at this. Check all this out. Dang. a sea of Tesla freaking superchargers. This is truly incredible. And beautiful views here actually as well. This is very, very nice. So let's take a quick tour of this. We'll go take a look at the switchgear, see everything that's going on. I can see all of the freaking version 3 supercharging cabinets. Wow, this is a mega site. And the crazy part of this is I was just at another site yesterday that had 76 superchargers. So I'm just gonna pull up over here on the edge and we need to do some exploring because this is crazy. And you join me just across the street from where we were at the lounge when we started this video, and you can see just huge amounts of Tesla superchargers through here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I may have lost track, but either way, it's just 76 divided by 4. Each one of these chargers feeds 4 dispensers, and these chargers are actually can be linked together. I believe a maximum of 8 can be linked, which is very interesting. You can see here this freaking juicy over 3 megawatt transformer right here feeding the switchgear. Look at some of this connection above ground. Very chunky looking things, of course. Just amazing. We have some more power electronics switchgear, another transformer feeding another side. So what's this one? Another 3 megawatt connection or so. This one, different markings. Maybe they had gone in 2 stages. I'm not sure. I've never actually seen 2 completely different grid connections at one site, excuse me. Very interesting. Let's take a look over here. It's screaming along. Yeah, another 3 megawatt, 3.3 megawatt or so. And then here it seems like we have what appears to be a giant battery pack. So this is looks to be a mega pack with the cooling up top and all the gates here. This is very interesting. So it says customer interface bay, mega pack doors. Take a look at this. Very cool. So this is the Tesla mega pack battery energy storage system, and date of manufacture 3 March of 2022. So this is what I'm talking about. This is sort of the future of off-highway big charging hubs. You have a juicy grid connection, again 2 of these bad boys feeding the battery pack that can then provide power during areas of peak demand so that Tesla can save energy, of course save the demand charge on the energy that's being dispensed. Holy smokes, like all of this equipment, people don't realize how expensive and how amazingly integrated all of this is compared to anything else out there. And then you look at this parking lot and it's just crazy. I know this isn't our best charging video we've ever done, but what an amazing installation for folks traveling to and from LA and San Francisco. Right halfway, you can stop, get in and out, or you can stop at the lounge and get coffee. It's your choice. The Tesla route planner will automatically choose the supercharger that's less busy for you automatically. So everything is done through the car. It says, you know, if trip planner says you should go to one Kettleman City supercharger and it gets filled up, it will actually send you to the other. Wow, that was really cool. So now we've done all the Tesla ones. There's a couple CCS stations as well that we should go look at. And let's just take a look at the disparity because, of course, here in California, we've noticed a big uptick in people buying electric vehicles that are non-Tesla vehicles. This guy's just parked here, not even charging. We've noticed a huge uptick in electric vehicles that are non-Tesla. And what that means for charging is the, honestly, very Spartan CCS public charging networks are overwhelmed. Now it's still the morning. We're in between LA and San Francisco. I would argue that people road trip those vehicles less, but I've been trying to drive a CCS vehicle around LA for some time now. For months I've been coming in and out, and it's getting increasingly difficult, where I'm noticing Tesla just keeps piling in more and more superchargers to keep up with the demand. Now it's not to say it's perfect, but it's definitely better. So let's run on over to go find some of those CCS stations. So if you're new to the electric car world, just briefly, what is CCS? Well, CCS is the actual plug type. It doesn't really mean anything other than the interface between the car and the charger. But Tesla uses a proprietary plug. It's called the North American Charging Standard. And pretty much everyone else uses CCS. There are a couple old dead standards out there. But the cool thing is it's not going to be just this walled garden Tesla Supercharger network anymore. Starting in early 2024, we're actually going to see other electric vehicles charging at superchargers. And we've already seen a quick rollout with this Magic Dock situation. We have some videos on that, but we'll also see vehicles with adapters and native NACS ports available. So that's going to be pretty fascinating to watch the rollout. But here we're just arriving to the flagship non-Tesla location. This is the Electrify America station. So let's go see what the public network, the main public network, has to offer in comparison to the roughly 100 superchargers that are around here. And we are pulling in now to the Electrify America Kettleman City location. And this is a very interesting looking location, beautiful location under canopy, which is always much appreciated. We should take a look at some of this grid connection situation that they have going on here. So I'll just nose the Model S in here. Let's pop out. My first time at this location. I can see maybe they've already pre-run some conduit for potentially more charging stations to go in. So that's always a good sign to see some future thought for expansion. We love to see that. And here's the site. Looks to be 10 chargers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Am I counting correctly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chargers here. And all under this beautiful solar canopy, truly a gorgeous canopy. Not cheap to put these in, that's for sure. And I'm already noticing that this site must have been taken offline at some point in the past, because I can notice the Gen 3 Signet, if you will, Gen 2 Signet charger with the green light around it. And then, so this was probably what was all here originally, were these units. And we all know Electrify America's had a campaign to install, actually they could have had ABB and put this one in, but either way, there were definitely older units here. And then Electrify America's had a campaign to install their new charger. Now this is just the dispenser, and the way to tell who makes it is we can see these are Signet dispensers. So these will suffer the Signet surge on Taycan, on Lucid, on really any high voltage car, EGMP, but Lucid suffers the most. And that's really a shame that you would roll up here with your Lucid Air and get just absolutely terrible charging experience in terms of consistent speed. Now, other vehicles charge properly on these chargers that work really nicely, and those are mostly low voltage vehicles. Like my Model S actually charges perfectly on these. So 350 kilowatt chargers, these are pretty much all balanced or load shared chargers. The way it works is you have one cabinet that's 350 kilowatts that will split to 150 kilowatts with two car, or 175 kilowatts roughly with two cars plugged in. And so that's very similar to the Kettleman City location I showed you with the version 2 with the lounge over there, where they split power. However, now you're splitting so much more power. And I would argue that that makes sense to me. But one thing Tesla does a lot better than this type of installation is Tesla can maximize the grid connection better than these types of installations can. The reason is, here you're only able to link 2 chargers to one cabinet. But with Tesla, you can actually link 32, 40, something like this, because you can link 7 or 8 cabinets in a row with 4 dispensers each. And then you can really balance out your grid connection, which is limited by this transformer right here. And so, yeah, I think in terms of the site being able to maximize the available power, this is probably a worse situation than what Tesla has to offer. It's also significantly less. Let's just, this is 1/10 the size of the Tesla installations in this area. And you can see here, this charger is showing a fault, just as an example, that says the credit card reader doesn't work on this one. So you have to have an account. That's not the end of the world, but it's certainly not ideal. And every time I go to an Electrify America station, I just find new and more and annoying problems that you just wouldn't expect to have. Now, thankfully, it looks like all of these chargers are showing online, or at least a high percentage of them. That's great to see, because again, each one of these posts represents 10 superchargers in terms of percentage. So just a huge difference here already, just with this one particular site. Now, this is going to be the charger that most electric vehicle drivers will be using. Electrify America is a known charging provider. Most EV drivers have their app, And some EV drivers even have free unlimited charging programs with EA. So this is the preferred charging site. It's under Canopy. You have a food mart here. You got a tacos, burritos, and quesadillas. Who doesn't love that? Right here, this is going to be where most non-Tesla owners will be charging. But let's go see if there's any other CCS public chargers in this town. I know there's at least one other. So I'll check PlugShare, see if we can find it, and go check it out. So the second Supercharger we visited is right there. The EA station's right behind us, and the first stop we hit is right over here. So it's amazing just how condensed all of these high power charging locations are. It must be really interesting from a grid perspective to have these huge grid connections out in the middle of the desert, all popping up within, again, just a couple years of each other. The, electrical infrastructure, especially from a grid standpoint, isn't used to these huge demands in a short period of time. And yeah, very interesting. So now we're coming over here to the Quality Inn, right across the street from where I stayed last night, actually. There's not many great hotel choices in this town. And we're arriving to another DC fast charging site. So let's just kind of nose in here. We try not to block anything, but it looks empty right now. This is an EV range site. It's a 350 kilowatt station. First of all, I'm loving the branding on these. This is great. If you look here, sometimes 350 kilowatt means nothing. It's all about the amperage. And so here you can already see it says CCS 500 amps and CHAdeMO 200 amps. That's a pretty juicy CHAdeMO. I think one of the fastest out there, actually. Very rare. And you just scan that QR code and you plug right in and go there. So that seems to be pretty good. I've checked PlugShare. People say that this station works just fine. There's just 2 of them here. So again, I'm not sure what the appeal would be to use these over the Electrify America station other than overflow. Interestingly, this is also labeled 350 kilowatts, but only 400 amps. And this is why you can't ever go off power reading. Why would this one have 100 amps less power output than this one? They're both hooked up to the same exact cabinets. I'm not sure. They're BTC units. I've never seen a 400 amp, 350 kilowatt BTC charger before. So that's confusing messaging. Could be worth a test one day. Probably not worth it because, again, most people are going to be charging at the Electrify America station just down the street here. But if you're staying at a hotel, high power charging also isn't ideal because you'll have to charge your car and then move it. You really want level 2 chargers and a bunch of them so you can just let your car charge to 90% overnight. When you wake up in the morning, bump it to 100, and then you're ready to go. Yeah, very interesting installation here, but just so many chargers here in this one little town. So let's wrap up the video with some thoughts, and I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Well, there you guys have it. That's Kettleman City in a nutshell for you. All of the high power chargers, 4 separate high power charging infrastructure locations in one very small off the highway town in the middle of the California desert. It's pretty wild just how much infrastructure has come in here, and it all comes down to Tesla building the big hub that was one of their first big supercharging hubs right there, then expanding it with the 250 kilowatt version 3 superchargers, and now they have an even bigger one just down the street. Electrify America has 10 charging stations here, which seems minuscule in comparison to everything else, and then just 2 over here from EV range, which is barely a drop in the bucket. But again, if you're driving a non-Tesla vehicle that doesn't have access to the supercharger network, you're going to be relying on these smaller installations. And it's why I keep saying, if you are going to road trip an electric car, the golden age of CCS is over. I'm sorry, but you drive a Tesla. This is what you take on a road trip, because I still can charge this vehicle on these CCS chargers, and also the old dying CHAdeMO standard, well, dead CHAdeMO standard at this point. But I can also just go to any supercharger, plug it in, and walk away. So the Tesla is the cheat code of 2023. Once 2024 comes and there's other vehicles on the road that can charge at Tesla superchargers, well, we're going to need to test the integration, the implementation, and see which superchargers are open to those vehicles, because it's not going to be every one. They're only going to have access to a percentage of supercharging stations, I would imagine, here in Kettleman City, because they're just huge, charging parks. But either way, you can always guarantee a charging spot when you drive a Tesla. So thanks for watching this very impromptu video this morning of all the charging stations in Kettleman City. There's a bunch of towns like this here in California. Quartzsite, Arizona actually is another one that I'd like to go visit and do a video on. They're gonna have well over 100 DC fast chargers in that town. And with, you know, the government telling everyone to buy electric and electric vehicles truly being nicer and better to drive as a daily driving device, the infrastructure's got to catch up. And really the only ones who are doing that are Tesla. So thanks for watching. See you on another one soon. Bye-bye.